All right, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stubulis with True North Group, and we're here for our Tuesday Facebook Live with the Virginia Small Business Development Center. Today's topic is going to be password managers, and I've talked about password managers in the past. I've talked about that, there are really only three ways for a network or a computer to validate that you're the right person. And that's either using a password or a password in conjunction with a token, which is something you have, or something like biometrics. A lot of places don't necessarily have multi-factor authentication. They're still relying on passwords, but we also know that passwords are really the easiest thing for us to defeat. And, a number of times I've talked about the complexity of a password. And right now, you have different degrees of complexity. You can have what we call an alphanumeric, which would be letters and numbers. Then you can have alphanumeric with a capital, where that gives you three options, where you have letters, numbers, you have an upper and a lowercase letter in that password. And then you have alphanumeric with a special character. And that would give you the ability to create a complex password. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that we have the length of a password. Anything less than 7 characters is going to be cracked. What they'll do is they will take that password file, which is encrypted, and they'll run it against a software that they use, which is readily available for anyone to really get, and they will crack those passwords within seconds. So I've told you that you really need an 8-character complex password or larger, because even if they get the password or the encrypted file, I think the shortest was 160 years. And 160 years, we don't care, because we're not going to be here in 160 years, so that's fine. But the challenge is we have passwords for everything. And our brains are not designed to retain all of those passwords. And also our brains work in a way where we only retain chunks of information. So when you get beyond a certain chunk of information, like for a password, if your brain can only handle 7 characters, then if you go to 10 characters, you have to use 2 chunks to really figure that out, which is challenging for us. And if you work in an enterprise environment, then you're already required to have a complex password, and they don't let you reuse the password. You can set it from one reuse or one time, one password additional, all the way up to 24. So depending on your IT security, the ability to reuse a password could basically be never. So the companies have created what we call a password manager. And a password manager is a vault. And think of it as a vault. And what they've developed over time is they've taken all of the heavy lifting away and out of the way for us. So really what you really need to remember is with a password manager, you have to remember one password, and that's it. And that's going to be the master password to open up that vault. And in that vault will be all of your usernames, all of your websites, all of your passwords that have been created. And it gives you the ability to create very complex passwords that you don't need to remember. Now, I use one called 1Password, and I've used it for years because I started off with Macs, and they were the best one for Macs. Now, they do cross-platform, so I use 1Password with my Mac, my iPhone, my iPad, and my PC. And all of those databases, sync in iCloud. So I have a secure database which allows all of those devices to sync. So if I make a change on my MacBook Pro, it will automatically sync so that when I use my iPhone, I don't have to enter that information. Now, they've gotten much, much better over the years. And there are a few that I just really want to just bring to your attention, and that you guys can look into. I'm not going to recommend at one. I will tell you that I use 1Password. I've used it for years. I love it because it allows me to, from a password perspective, and I'll just use my Gmail. I go to Gmail, and when I enter this in, when I go to Gmail, it automatically pops up saying, do I want to enter my password? You know, if I have to, and it will autofill the username and the password, and actually hit enter for me too, and it'll log in. And that does that for all sites. So when you create and all of the password managers do this. So it's linked to the site. So when you enter it, now when they're so good now that if you go to a new site and create a new account, it will actually prompt you to, do you want to create a new password section for the site? So whatever, you go to acme.com, you create a username and a password, it will automatically be put into this password vault. So the next time you go there, it will recognize the site and it will ask you and it'll prompt you. That is really good because now it allows you to create multiple different passwords. They even come with password generators, so you don't even have to think about it. You just basically, you go in, you click the number, the length that you want, the complexity that you want, click the gear icon, and it creates a password for you, and that's it. And then the next site, so you don't have to have the same password for your banking accounts as your credit cards, and it gives you that flexibility. Because the one thing that really is horrible is Bank of America, your bank, they come up and they tell you there was a breach. We're not sure if your account was compromised, but we recommend you change your password. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't have one bank. I have a number of different banks. I have banks for my business. I have banks personally, and if I use the same username and password for that bank and my credit cards, even if it's a super complex one, I have to now go change all of those passwords. And that is, that takes a tremendous amount of time. By having a password manager, you don't necessarily have to go change all of them because you're using different passwords and different, probably the same username pretty much, but definitely different passwords for all of these sites. Now, with family plans or business plans, you can also create a shared vault where, there are passwords that you need to share, for family, whatever it be, Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, whatever. They don't have to keep it. You can actually have it in a shared folder where all of the members of the family can go get it. Now, it also gives you the ability to put your personal identifiable information in there, social security number, date of birth. It allows you to put your credit card information in there so that when, if you go to buy something, and I do this, I can actually, it tells me to fill in the credit card information instead of pulling the credit card out of my wallet or running to the other room because I took my wallet and left it in the other room. I actually have it in my password manager. So I can pick the password that I want. It fills the credit card number, the expiration, and the CCV, so the security code. So it does it for you. Now, there have been some password managers that were online and they've had some challenges, but the ones that I'm talking about, like there's 1Password, there's Keeper, there's NordPass. Those are the three that I would recommend checking into. They also offer, some offer credit monitoring, some offer dark web monitoring. So once they have your information, there's there. And when you think about the cost, and the cost basically, they're always on sale. They're always having specials, but 1Password is $35 a year. Keeper is $35 a year. And NordPass is having a 2-year deal right now where it's $35 for 2 years. That's for an individual. Family, I believe Password Man or 1Password is, I want to say it's, instead of $2.99 a month, it's $4.99 a month. So it's $5, what, $60, something like that, where it's, for you and your family and your spouse or whatever, or your business, because they also offer businesses. So if you're a small business and you want to help and you want to increase your security, but you don't want to cause undue stress on your employees by making them remember extremely complex passwords, or ultimately where they're going to write it down on a sticky note, put it underneath their keyboard, on their, wherever they put it, I'm going to find it. All right. So you don't want people writing things down and leaving them somewhere that it's easy to find. Everyone thinks they're creative and they think, oh, no one will ever find it. But we always find the passwords if we go into someone's office, and we're doing that as part of one of our security evaluations. We always find passwords. So I would recommend definitely look into it. I think it's when you have the thought of identity theft, and if you've ever met someone that's had identity theft, or the cost associated, when you're looking at $35 to alleviate that stress, because it gives you a lot of flexibility to where you can put your secure documentation and you're the only one with the key. And what I mean by that is, if you lose your password, if I lose my password to 1Password, I have an emergency ability to do that, but I had to print that out and I have it locked up. All right, because without that, if I forget my password, 1Password's like, sorry, because they don't want the key. And therefore, even if they get hacked, all right, the criminals would not be able to get any access to your vault, because you're the only one that has the key to that. So it's important that you maintain the key, but there's, it's great to know that no one else will be able to get that key because it's a sole key. So we are right at that time. I just wanted to say, like I said, definitely consider getting password managers, and there are family plans, so you can get them for all your kids and your spouse, and you can also do it for your business. It's really a nominal investment, especially, as we're getting closer to the holiday season. We're going to start talking more about e-commerce. We're going to talk about buying Christmas stuff online, and the more secure you can be, the better chances of not being a subject to identity theft. So thanks again for joining. Everybody have a great Tuesday, and we will see you next week for our next Facebook Live.